is where MAGA comes to talk. Welcome. Well, you know, here we go. It's down to it. Everything I've seen, we have record voter turnout in New York City. I know there's other races that are going on, and I know they're all important, but none of them are as important as the New York City mayor's race. I mean, that's just it. I mean, this is a race that's going to have some pretty serious consequences. By the way, no matter who wins, the MAGA people, we're all supporting Cuomo because we understand how bad Mamdani is. So we got to do what we got to do. But the idea, this lesser of two evils, has never been more true than this. It really is not. We've never dealt with something like we're dealing with right now. This race is without question the most important mayor's race in the history of the United States. You know, I've been following politics my entire life. Even when I was a little kid in elementary school, my grandparents or I'd go to my grandparents after school and they always had the news on. So I'd watch, I've always followed it. I don't remember ever following a mayor's race before. I just don't. Do you? I mean, not like this. There's been races that have been in the news and we've paid tiny attention here or there, like a mayor's race in Chicago. We'll follow that a little bit. We will talk about the New York mayor's race here and there. But there's never been so much writing on a municipal election as this one. I've never seen anything like it. Now, I saw they said they're expecting about 2 million for the voters, for the voter turnout, which is a record voter turnout in New York by far. Cuomo is this is how bad Mamdani is, right? President Trump and MAGA people, we all know how bad and destructive Governor Cuomo is, right? We know what he did during the shutdown period, how many people are not with us today because of him. We understand all that. And Mamdani, what he represents and what he's going to do is so bad that we're willing to overlook that just to save New York City and our country. I mean, think about that. How bad do we all view Mamdani that we're not just supporting a Democrat, we're supporting like one of the worst Democrats. And if you remember, during President Trump's first term, during the shutdown period, President Trump had these afternoon press conferences every day that went on for two and a half hours. And and then every day, Governor Cuomo was having a press conference around 11 or 12, and he was countering it and resisting President Trump during a terrible time. And then, of course, all the tragedy and death that occurred in New York City under his watch. So, believe me, we are very well aware of how bad Cuomo is, but Mamdani is so much worse. If you're new to my channel, my name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure that you subscribe. I want to go through some of the stories that have come out today and some of the audio sound bites, and we'll talk about that as we go on. But this is really, it's really fantastical when you think about it, that President Trump and the MAGA movement, that we've reached across party lines to save a great American city, to save our country. We've reached over to one of the most despicable Democrats alive today and said, vote for him. The other guy's so bad. You've got to do, we can't get 5 Democrats to walk across the aisle to open up the government and give people their food stamps and everything, or pay the air traffic controllers, right? But crossing party lines to save New York City. So, you know, which side is just? Which side is America first, and which side are just partisan hacks, huh? I think that's pretty obvious. Yeah, rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. That's right. Candace and Tucker, keep an eye on them. Yeah, we definitely got to do that. So let me go through some of the things that have dropped from today. Just some of the things that are in the news. This is an oldie but a goodie from a few weeks ago.
Dropped from today.
Oh, hold on. I hit the wrong button. That's me. This is Mamdani on an interview on MSNBC talking about Netanyahu.
And Mayor Mamdani, would you welcome Prime Minister Netanyahu to New York City for the... Even the US is not a signatory to the ICC, so he can travel to the US, unlike a lot of other countries. Would Mayor Mamdani welcome Benjamin Netanyahu to the city?
No. As mayor, New York City would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. This is a city that our values are in line with international law. It's time that our actions are also.
Even though the US is not a signatory to the ICC?
No, it's time that we actually step up and make clear what we are willing to do to showcase the leadership that is sorely missing in the federal administration.
There you go. Okay. Okay. Yeah, there you go. That's Mamdani. Now, this is Governor Cuomo today. He went and voted, talked to the press.
The most important election of my lifetime, and I'm not a kid, but this is the most important election of my lifetime. This is going to determine the future of the city of New York. It may also determine the future of the Democratic Party. So get out and vote. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Make Argentina great again. Absolutely. Who doesn't want Argentina to be great? I do. Things are going down, and President Trump stopped the inflation. You know, if cost of living's too high, maybe you should cut back on your expenses like a normal, responsible person, or maybe get a job or a second job, right? Well, I've always had more than one job, and you know, how many apps you subbing to, right? Do you pay for the blue check mark on X? Don't complain about the cost of living when you have 50 apps you're paying for. Here is Curtis Sliwa, who, if Mamdani pulls this through and wins this election today, is going to be the most hated man in New York City. This is Curtis Sliwa. He's got the beret on so you can recognize him. He's on CNN.
If Mamdani is elected and he doesn't perform the job the way that Andrew Cuomo, the way that President Trump, the way that others are warning, if he does run the city as a communist, are you going to have any regrets?
Why should I have regrets? I trust people. People are going to make the choice. I'll live with the choice. I'd like them to choose me, but if, perchance, I lose on November 4th, I will improve, not move. I will lead the opposition. I will organize against any of the initiatives that are not in the best interests of people. I will not flee like Andrew Cuomo told his billionaire friends in the Hamptons. Oh, if Zorhan wins, I flee. No, I stay, I fight, not in a physical sense, but in what politics is all about, an organizational sense. I'm a community organizer. I've organized guardian angels all over the world. I understand that you don't surrender, you don't retreat. This is democracy in action. This is people power. Why are we so afraid of letting people make the decisions? Why do we want to leave it in the hands of billionaires, influencers, and insiders? I trust people. I don't trust politicians, billionaires, insiders, or influencers. If they should choose someone else, I will reorganize. I will be prepared to stay and fight. I was born in this city. I was almost killed in this city. I'll die in this city. I'll be buried in this city. I'm the true New Yorker in this race.
What a jerk. I mean, you know, basically, you know, what Curtis Sliwa is doing is endorsing and backing Mamdani. He's the Ross Perot of this election. You know, Bill Clinton only won 43% of the vote in 1992, beating H.W. Bush. And why did he only get 43% of the vote? Because Ross Perot divided the Republican vote. And this narcissistic bum, I'm sorry, he is, Curtis Sliwa, is doing just that. He should be ashamed of himself. You know, anything good he's done for New York will be wiped out if Mamdani wins, because it will be his fault. So here we have Governor Cuomo right after he voted today.
Well, I think what you're seeing is a civil war in the Democratic Party that has been brewing for a while. You have an extreme radical left that is run by the socialists that is challenging what they would call moderate Democrats. I'm a moderate Democrat. And that contest is what you're seeing here, but you're seeing it all across the country. The far socialist left challenging the moderates. I'm a Democrat like Mario Cuomo, like Bill Clinton, like Barack Obama, like John Kennedy, like their grandfather, their other grandfather, Robert Kennedy. That's my school of democratic politics. And that's what I'm fighting for.
You block your head is right.
All right, Democrats are not extreme socialists. We're not against the police. We don't believe the NYPD are racist. We don't believe they should be abolished. We don't believe in abolishing jails. We don't believe in doing away with misdemeanors. We don't believe in decriminalizing prostitution. That is not us. We're a party of law and order. David Dinkins, great Democrat. First thing he did when he took office, hire more cops, keep New Yorkers safe. So that's the contest you see happening here. I think if the far left socialists were to win, I think long term it would be very detrimental to the future of the Democratic Party. This country is not a socialist country. The city is not a socialist city. The state is not a socialist state. Socialism has never worked anywhere on the globe.
Nope.
Not Venezuela, not Cuba. It's not going to work in New York City.
Yeah, and don't forget, not in the Soviet Union, which doesn't even exist. There's Governor Cuomo again talking about the president.
He didn't say that. He did not say that. He said, I'd rather have a bad Democrat than a communist. That's what he said. He called me a bad Democrat. First of all, I happen to be a good Democrat and a proud Democrat, and I'm going to stay a proud Democrat. Mamdani is not a communist, he's a socialist. But we don't need a socialist mayor either. And what you heard President Trump say was he would cut off federal funding to New York.
That's right.
If Mamdani was elected.
That's right.
That would be devastating to New York. Devastating. And we can't let that happen. Mamdani cannot handle Trump. That's clear. And the next mayor has to be able to handle Donald Trump. I handled Donald Trump as governor of New York during COVID at the hardest time. He wanted to quarantine New York. I stopped him. He sent the National Guard to 20 cities. What city didn't he send them to? New York City. So I can handle Donald Trump. I did it once. I'll do it again.
I wouldn't say that he handled Donald Trump. He's a sociopath, Andrew Cuomo, but we'd rather have a bad Democrat and a sociopath than Mamdani, right? I mean, there's just no getting around it. That's how bad the man is. And here's something. This is, by the way, if you're new to my channel, my name's Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure that you subscribe. Welcome. You found some good content. Well, thank you. Thank you. Make sure you sub. This is crazy, okay? Now, how many of you, press 1 if you remember 9/11 and 2 if you don't, because it's been so long, there's a lot of people around that sadly don't. 1 if you remember 9/11, 2 if you don't, okay? It's hard to believe, but, you know, hey, 25 years almost, so, you know. This is a guy, listen to this. This guy makes a very good point.
All right, New York, y'all acting like a bunch of Mets right now. Explain to me this. The city that watched the skyline crumble on 9/11 is now considering electing Mamdani, whose own father once called the terrorist attacks the most spectacular act of terrorism in history. Okay, so Mamdani's dad, okay, and listen to this. You go through, you look this up, it just take, as long as it takes you to type it, okay, you'll find it. Mamdani's dad claimed a moral equivalence between the United States and Al-Qaeda compared to the Afghan war to 9/11. Listen to this. This is in Just the News. Zohran Mamdani's father, Mahmoud, a prominent leftist in his own right, penned a book in the wake of the terrorist attacks of 9/11.
This is Zohan's dad. Zohan Mamdani's father, Mahmoud, a prominent leftist in his own right, penned a book in the wake of the terrorist attacks of 9/11, where he argued that there was a moral equivalence between the United States and Al-Qaeda, compared the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan to the terrorist destruction of the World Trade Center, blamed the United States for 9/11 and Al-Qaeda, and much more. Mahmoud Mamdani is a longtime tenured Columbia University professor, where the school says, this is Mamdani's dad, where the school says he specializes in the study of colonialism, anti-colonialism, and decolonization. Raised in Uganda and of Indian descent, the likely future mayor's father also previously taught at the University of Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. At the university, it's a university in Uganda, and the University of Cape Town in South Africa. The left-wing academic wrote a 2004 book titled Good Muslim, Bad Muslim, which may help explain his son's views on terrorism. His son, Zohan, currently the odds-on favorite to be the next, this article was written last month, this is before these new polls came out, currently the odds-on favorite to be the next mayor of New York City is currently mired in controversy over his praise for the unindicted co-conspirator from the first attack on the World Trade Center that he was hanging out with, and of course this lunatic Linda Sarsour. A review of Mamdani's dad's book by Just the News reveals that Mahmoud Mamdani holds views about 9/11 and America that may raise eyebrows, including claiming there are many similarities between the United States and Al-Qaeda. Think about that. It's crazy. His dad's a freaking nut. His dad is a freaking nut. I lost my place. A review of the book by Just the News reveals that Mahmoud Mamdani holds views about 9/11 and America that may raise eyebrows, including claiming there are many similarities between the United States and Al-Qaeda. That American foreign policy is ultimately to blame for the devastating attacks which killed 3,000. So we're responsible for 9/11. This is what his dad believes. All right. That homicide bombings should not be viewed as barbaric, and much more. Zohan has said in the past that his father's political views have helped him inform his own, and his mother said this year that her son has absorbed what he learned at home. Mahmoud Mamdani wrote in his 2004 book that there was growing common ground between the perpetrators of 9/11 and the official response to it by the United States, claiming that there was an eerie similarity between the American bombing of Iraq and Afghanistan and the Al-Qaeda bombing of embassies in Nairobi and Dar es Salaam, and of the Twin Towers on 9/11. He asserted that there was a moral equivalence between the United States and Al-Qaeda, and argued that homicide bombing should not be stigmatized as a mark of barbarism. This is Daddy-O. This is Zohan's dad. Clifford May, the president of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, told the John Solomon Reports podcast that it's frightening, the idea that somebody who is both a socialist and is, I would say, an Islamist who could be mayor of New York City. It's really frightening. It's really the beginning of this whole discourse, very deceptive on decolonialism and the West and all of that. Decolonialism is wiping out the United States and Israel, okay? That's what those are code words. Wipe out Israel, wipe out the United States. And in a way, Mamdani's father, Mahmoud Mamdani, is a disciple of that. His book is called Good Muslim, Bad Muslim, May said. Well, that's not the debate for anybody. Nobody is talking about good Muslims, bad Muslims. We're talking about Muslims who want to cut off your head because you're an infidel or a Jew or a Christian. And we're talking about Muslims who don't want to do that and who can get along with. So it's a very bogus book. Zohan also did his best to explain away his use of the phrase globalizing the Intifada this summer. To me, ultimately, what I hear, and so many, is a desperate desire for equality and equal rights and standing up for Palestinian human rights, Mamdani said on the Bulwark podcast this summer. He refused to condemn the phrase on Meet the Press. I mean, this is a bad freaking guy. I mean, there's nothing about Mahmoud and his son Zohan that's not bad. These are bad people. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. New York hasn't fallen yet. We'll find out what happens. I hope we get the returns early. This is Governor Cuomo on Fox.
It's an important message because it's a three-way race. It's myself, the Democratic Socialist, Mamdani, and there's a Republican named Curtis Lewa. And Curtis Lewa was a spoiler. There was no chance he can win, but he can make Mamdani a winner.
That's right.
So President Trump saying to the Republicans, don't vote for Sliwa, you're wasting your vote. That could be very helpful because if they don't vote for Sliwa, they would vote for me.
What do you say to the Republicans that say Sliwa's probably not going to win if you believe the polls, so I'm just going to stay home? But then Donald Trump comes out, and many Republicans live for whatever Donald Trump says. And when he's telling them to go vote for you, maybe they will go out. What's the reason a Republican should get out of bed, should leave their house, should leave the office and go vote for you?
Yeah, well, President Trump is pragmatic. He is telling them the reality of the situation, which is if you do not vote, Mamdani is going to win. Who is Mamdani? I don't know, but he's a Democratic Socialist. He'll bring socialism to New York City. New York City will not thrive with a socialist economy, anti-law and order, decriminalize prostitution. So Republicans, you have to get up and come out and vote. Even if you're not voting for a Republican, you're voting to save New York City. You know, this election is not about Democrat, Republican.
It's not.
It's about saving the city.
Yeah, and the country and Western civilization. By the way, I pinned in the live chat a link. That's the link to Jupiter Joe's YouTube channel. If you guys could click that link and subscribe to his channel, I'd appreciate that. You know, Jupiter Joe Thomas, who sponsors the show in the mornings and everything. Click that link and subscribe to Jupiter Joe's YouTube channel, if you don't mind. I'd appreciate that. Yeah, this, you know, this is, it's really amazing how, you know, there have only been 2 times in my life where Republicans and Democrats have come together, right? 9/11 and this election in New York, both of them involving New York City. Right? I mean, this, you know, for the President Trump, our favorite president, to come out and say, don't vote for the Republican, it's a waste of a vote. Vote for Andrew Cuomo. Reaching across the aisle in such a non-partisan way like that is so unheard of and so amazing. It shows you what a true America first guy, President Trump, and the whole MAGA movement truly is. You know, not only are you getting the endorsement from the President of the United States for this Democrat, he's a low-life Democrat who's trying to resurrect himself politically. You know, Andrew Cuomo's father, Mario Cuomo, he was the governor of New York, and when Ronald Reagan was president, and he was one of the most prominent Democrats in the country, and he always wanted to be president. He always wanted to get that Democrat, and he couldn't achieve it. And Governor Cuomo is trying to get what his daddy couldn't, that presidential nomination and maybe be president. And so not only is President Trump reaching across the aisle, unlike these Democrats in the Senate who won't reach across the aisle to give air traffic controllers their pay or their people their food stamps and all of that, or pay the military. We're reaching across the aisle and doing a very nonpartisan thing because it's the right thing to do for the country, is to stop Mamdani, and this is the only way we can do it. It's amazing, and it elevates Cuomo. Cuomo, if Cuomo wins tonight, I hope he does. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I hope he does. If Cuomo wins tonight, and he does an incredible job in New York, which is, you know, who knows, he would be the front runner to be the Democrat nominee for president in the next presidential election, or maybe even the next senator instead of AOC replacing Schumer. So we understand, the president understands, we all understand that we're elevating this creep, okay? But it's important because it's the right thing to do for New York City and for our country. And you really got to give the president his due for doing that. I mean, when have you seen a president of the United States come out and say, vote for the other party? Have you ever seen anything like that? Now, they had, let me see if I got this queued up. Hold on, let me pull some more of these things up. I have so much here I want to go through. Let's see. I lost my place here on my... Okay, this is Mamdani talking to a group of idiots in New York.
I just want to ask everyone in this crowd, if you can raise your hand if you have been called a terrorist while living in this city. Yes. If you can raise your hand if you...
Okay, he was hanging out with the terrorist, the unindicted co-conspirator from 9/11. He's hanging out with him, taking pictures with him and bragging about it and posting them on social media. So is it unfair to ask him questions like that when he's hanging out with an unindicted co-conspirator from the first World Trade Center bombing? I would say it's a very fair question to ask him. You know, what President Trump has done in reaching across the aisle and saying, vote for the Democrat. He's a bad Democrat, but vote, very bad one. But vote for him over this guy. That is the most nonpartisan thing I think I've ever seen a president of the United States do. And we should all be proud of him for doing that. Really. Absolutely. Yeah. Now don't forget, I put the link there to Jupiter Joe's YouTube channel. If you guys could click that link and sub to his channel, I'd appreciate it. The Jupiter, you know Jupiter Joe, he comes on the radio with me from time to time. He's starting up his, well, he has a YouTube channel, but he's starting up some things on YouTube. So if you could sub to his channel, I'd appreciate it. It's crazy. It is really crazy. And, you know, during President Trump's first term, during the shutdown and lockdown periods, President Trump and Cuomo were at odds with each other. They were, like, fighting it out every single day with those dueling press conferences. So, you know, they're enemies. They are enemies. There's no getting around it. So they had these. Let me see if I can pull this up. Hold on a second. I thought I had this queued up. Okay, so they had these bombing threats in New Jersey, right? And so far as we know, they were fake, right? Yeah, I appreciate you guys subbing to Joe's channel. I pinned the link to his YouTube channel right there. I'd appreciate it, guys. They had these bomb threats at the polling stations in New Jersey, and immediately Zohan comes out.
Incredibly concerning. And I think that it is an illustration of the attacks we're seeing on our democracy. Sometimes they're blatant and explicit in the manner of these bomb threats, and we have to understand this as part of the general approach the Trump administration has taken to trying to intimidate voters with baseless allegations of voter fraud as a means of trying to repress the voice of Americans across this country.
I don't know if he's going to get that question again today, but the general approach the Trump administration has taken to try and intimidate voters. So
he's blaming Trump for these bomb threats, which is insane and irresponsible. And Caroline Leavitt was asked about it at the White House press briefing today.
Someone Mamdani blamed the president for bomb threats and intimidation at polling locations. He said, quote, part of the general approach of the Trump administration has taken to intimidate voters with baseless allegations of voter fraud as a means of trying to repress the voice of Americans across this country. I want to give you a chance to respond to that.
Yeah, I saw those comments from Mamdani. I think they are completely irresponsible, and they are based on zero evidence. And I think this is just another example of how the Democrat Party unfortunately stands for nothing. All they stand against is President Donald Trump. And I think it's quite sad to see that we have someone at the top of the ticket on an election day today saying such things about the president when he obviously had absolutely nothing to do with those threats.
Yeah, it's irresponsible. Yeah, he's just making crap up. Exactly. Mamdani's just making crap up. He think about it. He's calling the president basically, not basically, I mean literally, he's calling the president a terrorist is what he's doing. He's got a lot of nerve, doesn't he? He certainly does. Got a lot of nerve. Yeah. But you know, the latest polls that came out yesterday, I talked about them on the morning show today, and it's tight. This race is a literal horse race. So it is very possible. It is very possible for Governor Cuomo to pull this through. It is very possible for him to pull this through. And boy, oh boy, do we need him to. Byron Donalds, who is running for governor. I'm going to be voting for him for governor. He very well may be the next governor of Florida after Ron DeSantis. I would like to hear his thoughts on ending property taxes in Florida, but I can't wait to vote for him.
When you put in communist and yes, communist policies, that's what Zohran Mamdani is talking about.
He's not a communist.
It never
Democratic
works.
Socialist. He says he's Democratic
I can't tell what.
Okay, what is the difference? Can somebody tell me the difference between a Democrat? What the freak is a democratic socialist, and how is it different from being a communist? You know, remember Stu Chris, new member to the channel. Welcome, Stu. Remember Andrew Dice Clay? He would talk about there's no income tax in Florida. We don't have income tax in Florida. And see these Democrats with their meaningless talking points just making crap up. Not only do we not have a state income tax in Florida, the Florida state constitution forbids income tax. So no, can't double. If it doubles it, it'll still be zero. So it could quadruple it for all I care. It'll still, 4 times 0 is 0. See these Democrats, they just make shit up. That's it. So, and I would love not to have property taxes because I'm here at my house right now and I got to pay property taxes and it sucks, okay? What is democratic socialism and how does it differ from communism? Exactly. But anyway, let's get back to the great Byron Donalds, Florida's next governor.
When you put in communist and yes, communist policies, that's what Zohran Mamdani is talking about.
He's not a communist.
It never
Democratic
works.
Socialist. He says he's Democratic.
I can't tell what the difference is.
Well, he can describe
Explain what the difference is.
He can describe the differences for you. The socialism is not the same basis of communism in this country. You know that quite well.
The man wants to create government-run grocery stores. He wants free transportation, both of which are impossible to do because how is
a trigger word to try to undermine all of his policies. He's not a. He says he doesn't.
I don't need to undermine his policies. His policies undermine himself because they've never worked. Here's all I want him to do. Tell me where they've ever worked. They've never worked.
That's right.
He knows that, I knows that. But what he's trying to do is promise everybody something that they can't have. And the truth is there is no free lunch, just like there's no free bus. Because you know what happens when you have a free bus? There's nobody there to fix it or to drive it. He knows that, I know that, you know that. America does know it. And it's unfortunate that the city of New York, my former home city, is probably going to have to go through this.
That's right. This is Byron Donalds is going to be a great governor. I cannot wait for him to be our governor. But the Democrat Party, welcome everyone. If you're new, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Welcome everyone. So, the Democrat Party is really thinning out. It's not as big of a party as it was a year ago, is it? I mean, they are just alienating people. This is an interview with a woman who left the Democrat Party. Listen.
Let me give you this. I used to be on your side, okay?
Used to be a Democrat.
I was, no thanks. I couldn't believe what I've seen under the Biden administration. Like what? I don't believe castrating children. I don't believe cutting off their breasts.
Yeah.
I don't believe in pronouns. I don't believe in that kind of cult ideology. You're turning, let me finish.
Okay.
So what Trump is doing now, Trump is doing now is trying to get us back to the America that we were proud of.
Yeah, so I don't see
Not this ideology that has...
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, here's Mamdani again. So we're talking about what's a democratic socialist. He's not a CNN says Mamdani's not a communist. He's not really? He's not a communist? CNN says. Explain this to me.
What the purpose is about this entire project, it's not simply to raise class consciousness, but to win socialism. And obviously raising class consciousness is a critical part of that. But making sure that we have candidates that both understand that and are willing to put that forward at every which moment that they have, at every which opportunity that they're given. We have to continue to elect more socialists, and we have to ensure that we are unapologetic about our socialism. There are also other issues that we firmly believe in. whether it's BDS, right? Or whether it's the end goal of seizing the means of production.
Seizing the means of production. That's communism. Seizing the means of production. That is communism. This is Mamdani in a Zoom call wearing some funny clothes.
Whether it's BDS, right? Or whether it's the end goal of seizing the means of production. Where we do not have the same level of support at this very moment. And what I want to say is that it is critical that the way that we organize, the way that we set up our work and our priorities, that we do not leave any one issue for the other, that we do not meet a moment and only look at what people are ready for, but that we are doing both of these things in tandem. Because it is critical for us to both meet people where they're at and to also organize for what is correct and for what is right, and to ensure that over time we can bring people to that issue. The ramifications of victory here is the difference between life and death for so many of our brothers, sisters, and family beyond the binary across this borough of Queens. It's the difference between having cash bail anymore or not. It's the difference between having sex work be decriminalized.
So seize the means of production and legalize prostitution.
Having cash bail anymore or not. It's the difference between having sex work be decriminalized and not. And with every battle that we fight as socialists, we need to remember what the stakes are and ground ourselves in them and why those stakes are important and critical to us as individuals.
There you go. He wants to seize the means of production and legalize prostitution. That's the Democrat candidate for mayor of New York. Really? Is that what people in New York want? Seizing people's property and assets. That's right. That's what they did in the Soviet Union. It's what they did in Cuba. And it's what they've done in all. No, this is him on a Zoom call. This isn't cherry picking. That's it. I played the whole thing. It's 1 minute and 43 seconds. I played the whole thing in its entirety. And even if you are cherry picking, so what? He still said both of those things, and those are big no-nos in the United States. That's it. That's your Mamdani. That's your Mamdani. Now, guys, I put the link to Jupiter Joe's YouTube channel, pinned it in the live stream. If you guys could click that link and subscribe to his channel, I'd greatly appreciate it. It'd be appreciated on my part if you guys could do that. So right now they got massive turnout. This was as the latest count was 3 hours ago, so about 12:30 noon, 12:30 today. Massive turnout in New York City so far. Already over 450,000 election day votes, on track to end up with over 2 million total votes, including the early voting. So we have a historic voter turnout in New York City. Historic voter turnout. So we're going to find out in just a few short hours. But I mean, you guys could let me know if you agree with it. Well, thank you very much, Patch. Welcome to the channel. Bahrain. No, I've never been to Bahrain. I never will. Give me a yes or no if you agree with this. Record voter turnout. High voter turnout. I would say that's in Cuomo's favor. Do you agree with that? High voter turnout is in Cuomo's favor. Do you agree with that? Yes or no? High voter turnout is in Cuomo's favor. Yes or no? I would say yes. Yeah. I haven't seen anyone who says anything but yes to that. Yeah. Well, keep praying. Keep praying. And President Trump, hopefully, yeah. You know, if Mamdani loses tonight, if he loses tonight, the point where everything would have turned against him was posting that picture of him with the unindicted co-conspirator from the World Trade Center bombing in '93. I know. Rosie America, never thought I would pray to elect Cuomo. I know, isn't that nuts? It's crazy. But this is the most nonpartisan moment that this country has seen since 9/11, where, you know, as far as MAGA is concerned, there are no Republicans and Democrats in New York, just Americans. And some of them are New Yorkers, so they can vote. So the president and MAGA were calling on Republicans in New York to not only go out and vote, but vote for Cuomo to save New York and save the country. Can you think of a nonpartisan act at this level that any president has ever taken involving an election? Do any of you, can you think of one? Anything even close? When a president of the United States, the sitting president, he's got midterms coming up and everything else. I'm not talking about some washed up has-been president that's looking for attention. I'm talking about a sitting U.S. president who comes out and says, vote for the guy in the other party to save this country. Knowing that Cuomo becoming mayor will elevate him, and we might have to put up with him in the damn Senate for the next 50 years, or he may be on that stage running for president and get the nomination for the Democrat Party after this. So, you know, all of that. No, I don't know anything like this where in an election, a sitting president has says, hey, vote for the guy in the other party. Never seen anything like it. Usually what people would do is you sit around and you enjoy the other party destroying themselves. But this is too important, people. It's not one of those things. It's way too important. Okay, here's Mamdani on with Morning Joe today, sitting next to Al Sharpton, who's another beaut. So here you got Mamdani on with Morning Joe with Sharpton today.
We have a president who is looking to rip up the very fabric of this city. And that means being ready preemptively for these kinds of threats as opposed to hoping that they don't come to bear. And we have a law department in New York City that used to be one of the most storied law departments in the country. It was on the front lines in fights for equal rights. That department currently has fewer lawyers than it did before the pandemic. We have underfunded so many of the most critical parts of city agency work. That's part of what it means to Trump-proof. The other part of this is, how do we actually stand up for New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and immigrant New Yorkers? Because right now we have protections in this city.
Come on. Give me a break. These are just scary, scary times. So here's another clip. This is Zohan on Morning Joe today, trying to explain what a democratic socialist is.
How do you respond to that when somebody comes up to you and says, I can't vote for you because you're a communist?
I say there are reasons you might not want to vote for me, but let's be honest about my politics. I'm a democratic socialist no matter how many times President Trump calls me otherwise.
Yeah, explain the difference. What is the difference between it?
See, now, this idiot, Morning Joe, he doesn't realize he's asking Zohan a tough question. He thinks he's helping Zohan here.
I'm a democratic socialist no matter how many times President Trump calls me otherwise.
Yeah, explain the difference. What is the difference between a Democrat, a democratic socialist, and a communist?
Well, I'm a democratic socialist who's also a Democrat.
Right.
And when I say I'm a democratic socialist, I explain it in the words of Dr. King from decades ago.
Dr.
Who said
King.
that call it democracy or call it democratic socialism, there must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country.
Right.
And what I actually find
Now
is...
keep in mind, Zohan is a multimillionaire, married to another multimillionaire. Both of their parents are multimillionaires, and he's living in government-subsidized housing. But he's talking about wealth redistribution being fair.
Or call it democratic socialism, there must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country.
Right.
And what I actually find is that when you're speaking to New Yorkers, they ask you less how you describe your politics and more whether there's room for them in that politics.
Right.
And New Yorkers are asking me, does your politics have room for my struggle to afford my rent, my childcare, my groceries? And frankly, President Trump ran an entire campaign focusing on the cost of living, focusing on the promise of cheaper groceries. And his inability to do so is now making him increasingly desperate to try and stop the campaign that will actually deliver on the same diagnosis.
Yeah, by nationalizing the grocery stores. Yeah, that'll help. Oh, man, I tell you, this is it. This is it. You know, and by the way, he never told us the difference between democratic socialism and communism, because there is no difference. You know what it is. You know, there's this old joke that Andrew Dice Clay used to tell when he first hit the scene. You know, and I'm not going to tell the joke because I wouldn't do it justice to the great Andrew Dice Clay. But Andrew Dice Clay, he would talk about okay, hold on. Okay. All right, sorry, getting some email from the radio station. I got to record some commercials for the radio station. They're sending me the copy. Andrew Dice Clay used to tell this joke that about guys who said they were bisexual. I'm not going to say what he used to say. Look it up online if you can find it. But he said there's no such thing as bisexual. You're either gay or you're not gay. Democratic socialists are communists that know better than to say that they're communists. So they say there's something else, right? They're like closeted communists. And it's not unusual for the communist leaders to be rich, because most of the communist leaders are rich throughout history. Here he is on Morning Joe, again, another clip. Mamdani talking about defunding the police.
And so you like defunding the police, you obviously don't believe that anymore, right?
Yes, I've said that very clearly.
Said that time and again, right?
That we're not.
Anything to clarify. I mean, I'm not saying you said or did it, but clarify or say maybe I've learned how to be more careful.
By the way, we do this to Rev every time he's on the show, and then Rev will do it to me.
Right.
And we're both apologizing for things he said years.
No, I think I've said that you know, the tweets that I wrote in 2020 around defunding the police, that's not the position that I hold. And I'm running for mayor to deliver public safety in partnership with the police department. Right. And there's also language that I've used in those same tweets, which I've apologized for.
He doesn't say much, does he? He doesn't say much at all. A bunch of gobbledygook. Let's see, I played that one. Here's Governor Cuomo talking about President Trump's nonpartisan crossing the aisle endorsement.
The president does not
hold on.
support me. The president opposes Zoran Mamdani.
That's right.
The president believes Zoran Mamdani is a communist. He believes he's an existential threat. I believe he's a socialist and an existential threat, and not a dress-up socialist, right? Their school of socialism, this Democratic Socialists of America, government controls the means of production. No private ownership of real estate, abolish jails, decriminalize prostitution. This is frightening stuff.
Shit, yeah, it is. Oh my gosh, excuse me. Could you imagine? Legalize prostitution, seizing the means of production, and seizing private property with the rent control. Oh my goodness. That's communism. And it's also anarchy. Because remember, it's the Cloward-Piven strategy. Glenn Beck used to talk about the Cloward-Piven strategy a lot. It's to bring down the system, to destroy the system. Here's another clip. This is Mamdani on MSNBC now saying he doesn't want free grocery stores.
Question affordability in this city.
Nobody needs a house. I'm in my house right now, man. What do you mean nobody needs a house?
Here is top of everyone's mind. It has gotten obscenely expensive to live here, to do anything here. So you're proposing free grocery stores, free buses, $30 minimum wage, all of which sounds incredible.
$30 minimum
cheaper
wage.
Groceries, not free groceries.
Excuse me, cheaper groceries. But what people want to know is, great, I would love all those things.
Yeah,
how do you pay for it? Who's going to end up footing the bill for those programs?
So I'll answer that question by first explaining some of the endorsements that Andrew Cuomo has received. Elon Musk's endorsement is one.
Now, by the way, I'll play this whole bit. This is astounding, right? I mean, this shows you $30 minimum wage. Yeah, exactly. It's absurd. This is the kind of trouble Mamdani is in. That line of questioning is coming from MSNBC, MS13BC, MSDNCBC. They are asking questions to expose him for the boob that he is. It's unheard of, right, on MSNBC?
Question affordability in this city. Living here is top of everyone's mind. It has gotten obscenely expensive to live here, to do anything here. So you're proposing free grocery stores, free buses, $30 minimum wage, all of which sounds incredible.
Cheaper groceries, not free groceries.
Excuse me, cheaper groceries. But what people want to know is, great, I would love all those things.
Yeah,
how do you pay for it? Who's going to end up footing the bill for those programs?
So I'll answer that question by first explaining some of the endorsements that Andrew Cuomo has received. Elon Musk's endorsement is one of the most expensive endorsements that Andrew Cuomo has ever.
The richest man in the world. He's got the endorsement of the richest man in the world, who's also the richest African American, Elon Musk.
Forgotten, because it cost him and the state of New York $959 million in tax breaks that he gave Elon Musk years ago when he was the governor of the state. That's actually more money than it would cost to make every bus free in New York City. So I've said clearly that I believe we should tax the top 1% an additional 2%, that's New Yorkers making $1 million or more a year, and have the most profitable corporations pay the same tax rate they do at the top tier in New Jersey, what they would actually pay here in New York. These things together would pay for the entirety of our economic agenda and start to Trump-proof our city. Because as you've said, the endorsements that Andrew Cuomo has got, and this morning he started it by going on Fox and Friends, we're talking about Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Stephen Miller. These are the architects in many ways.
Well, that Stephen Miller, we love Steve. You know, Stephen Miller, who he and his very sharp wife. Did you see her on CNN kicking ass? I love Stephen Miller's wife. She's as sharp as he is. She's from South Florida too. You know, he has to live on a military base with his wife because he's being threatened so much.
Agenda and start to Trump-proof our city. Because as you've said, the endorsements that Andrew Cuomo has got, and this morning he started it by going on Fox and Friends. We're talking about Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Stephen Miller. These are the architects in many ways of the crisis of authoritarianism that New Yorkers are facing. And
the crisis of authoritarianism, this is his father's Columbia University professor, college lecture bullcrap. These slogans they have.
We're talking about Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Stephen Miller. These are the architects in many ways of the crisis of authoritarianism that New Yorkers are facing. And Andrew Cuomo is so unwilling to tax Donald Trump's billionaire donors because he knows those are the same ones whose checks that he's busy cashing trying to get back to City Hall.
The crisis of authoritarianism, that's a new one. Now here is, this was discovered by Libs of TikTok. This is a Mamdani campaign staffer talking about free gender-affirming care in New York City.
Zoran is literally attempting to do what conservatives say, you know, we want to do, which is provide gender-affirming care to anyone who wants it for free. And we're going to ship people, we're going to fly people in and pay for their hotel rooms. We're going to do all of the Fox News stuff. We're getting ideas from Fox News. I want to do that. But most importantly is we collaborated with the Zoran Mamdani campaign on his trans rights platform. And what we explicitly wanted to do was use the power of New York City to provide free gender-affirming care, and I say free in case insurance companies decide to move us off.
So they're working with Mamdani, who's going to give free sex change operations. Isn't that nice? Free sex change operation. That's a very expensive elective surgery. These people are out of their minds. They're truly out of their minds. Now, if you're new to my channel, make sure that you subscribe. Now, give me a yes or no in the chat. Not what you want to happen, what you think will happen based on everything that's come out, right? The huge voter turnout, the polls going the way they've gone in the last day. Yes or no, will Zohan win tonight? Yes or no? Not what you want, what you think will happen based on all these developments. Will Zohan win the New York mayor's race tonight? Yes or no? Everyone's saying yes. All yeses. I don't know why you would say gladly. That seems crazy to me. All yeses. Scary, huh? Pretty scary. Unfortunate. Yeah, everyone thinks he's going to win. Well, if he doesn't, what a night, right? If he wins, you might not be able to go to bed tonight. You'll be so excited. You'll stay up all night celebrating. Sad days ahead. Yeah. Yep. Now, guys, I put the link, pinned it in the live chat. In fact, let me put it in the description for those that aren't watching live. To Jupiter Joe's YouTube channel. You know Jupiter Joe Thomas, he comes on the radio with me from time to time. He's got a YouTube channel. So if you could click that link and subscribe to Jupiter Joe's YouTube channel, I would appreciate it, and so would he. I'm going to put it in the description. In case you miss it and you're not watching live. But if you could click that link and subscribe to Jupiter Joe's YouTube channel, I'd greatly appreciate it, guys. Let me see. Okay, it's in the description as well, in case you might have missed it there. Click that and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Yeah, well, you know, if he wins and it's close, it's Curtis Lewa's fault. It's Curtis Lewa's fault, you know. And, you know, here's the thing. I want you to think about this now. There's no way to predict how this is going to come out. The safe thing is to say he's going to win, Mamdani. But I want you to think about this. It looks like it's a close race because of the way the polls have come down, right? It looks like a close race, correct? It seems like a close race. By the way, those of you subscribing to Jupiter Joe's YouTube channel, I appreciate it. Please do that. I'd appreciate that. The Republicans, they've had a lot of early voting. Republicans generally do not vote early. They vote on election day. So I think it's safe to say that when the polls opened today, most Republicans had not voted yet. Very few had voted yet. Now that President Trump and Stephen Miller and other great MAGA patriots said vote not for Curtis Lewa, but vote for Cuomo, how many Republicans turned out today and voted for Cuomo because the president said so? You know, that's a very strong possibility. You know, it really truly is. Well, you know, we'll know what role if Zohan wins and we get the turnout. When we get the numbers, we'll know whether it was Curtis Lewa or not, right? If he wins by 5 points and Curtis Lewa, you know, got, you know, more than that, that means Curtis Lewa gave him the election, right? Those votes could have gone to Cuomo. But since Republicans typically vote on election day, especially in New York, where a lot of registered Republicans feel it's a waste of time to vote, after what the president, and Stephen Miller went on Fox last night and said, vote for Cuomo. The president made a big deal about it. So I would say that there's a very, very good chance that there could be a good, solid Republican turnout for Cuomo today. Let's hope and pray. You know, the idea that we're praying for Governor Cuomo to win is insane. And, you know, if we went back when he was governor during the lockdowns, and you would have told us that Trump would be endorsing Cuomo and that Stephen Miller and the rest of us would be saying, vote for Cuomo. He wouldn't have believed it. He would have said, there's no way, you're nuts. There's no way that would happen. It's going to be tight. Sue says going to be tight. Yeah, it could be. If you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe. My name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. And if you're new, I'm not usually live on my back porch, but it's beautiful weather here. Alexa, what's the temperature? Right now, it's 77 degrees and low humidity. It's beautiful. That's why I'm in my backyard on my back porch. But I'm usually in the studio. And when I'm in the studio, I take live calls, totally screenless and unvetted. So if you subscribe, you'll enjoy this channel. I promise you. And you can call me live when I'm in the studio, whether you agree or disagree. If you disagree, you're always welcome to call me too. My name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you subscribe. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.